A city under siege, Jabalia's unrelenting battle. Northern Jabalia, a densely populated area in the Gaza Strip, has become a focal point of the ongoing conflict. Buildings lie in ruins, testament to the ferocity of the recent fighting. Palestinian resistance groups, strategically entrenched within the city, continue to engage Israeli forces in close-quarter combat. The intensity of the fighting underscores the complexities of this decades-long conflict. With each passing day, the humanitarian crisis deepens, leaving countless civilians trapped in the crossfire. The heart of the inferno, anatomy of a coordinated attack. A significant development in the battle for Jabalia was a meticulously planned truck explosion. This operation, attributed to Palestinian militants, targeted Israeli military positions within the city. The attack unfolded with a series of coordinated maneuvers. First, a diversionary strike drew Israeli attention and firepower to a specific location. As Israeli troops responded, the explosives-laden truck, concealed within the urban landscape, was detonated near a concentration of Israeli soldiers. The blast sent shockwaves through Jabalia, highlighting the tactical sophistication employed by the Palestinian resistance. The price of conflict: casualties and strategic losses. In the heat of battle, lives are lost, and the impact is felt far beyond the front lines. The human cost of war is immeasurable, affecting families, communities, and nations. The truck explosion in Jabalia resulted in significant casualties, striking at the heart of the Israeli military. This devastating attack not only caused immediate loss of life but also disrupted military operations and logistics, creating a ripple effect that hindered subsequent missions. Among the fallen were members of the elite Shaked Battalion, renowned for their urban warfare capabilities. These soldiers were highly trained, and their loss represents a significant depletion of Israel's specialized military resources. The Shaked Battalion's expertise in navigating complex urban environments made them a crucial asset in the conflict. This loss of highly trained soldiers deals a blow to Israeli morale and operational capacity. The emotional toll on the soldiers' comrades and the broader military community is profound as they grapple with the loss of their friends and colleagues. The impact on morale can affect the effectiveness of future operations. The attack also claimed the lives of soldiers from other specialized units, underscoring the Palestinian resistance's ability to inflict strategic losses. These units, each with their unique skills and roles, are vital to the overall military strategy. The destruction of equipment further compounds the challenge as it takes time and resources to replace. These casualties have sent shockwaves through Israeli society, sparking debates about the conflict's trajectory and the human cost of continued fighting. Public opinion is divided, with some calling for a reassessment of military strategies and others advocating for a stronger response. The ongoing conflict continues to shape the national discourse, highlighting the complex interplay between military actions and societal impacts. Re-evaluating the battlefield: Israeli military doctrine challenged. The Jabalia assault, particularly the truck bombing, has prompted a reassessment of Israeli military doctrine. The attack exposed vulnerabilities in Israel's urban warfare strategies, particularly in environments where militants operate among civilians. The Palestinian resistance's ability to penetrate Israeli defenses and target elite units raises concerns about the effectiveness of existing tactics. This incident underscores the evolving nature of the conflict, where traditional military superiority faces an adaptive and determined adversary. The Israeli Defense Forces will likely re-evaluate their rules of engagement and operational procedures in response to this evolving threat. Section 5. A fragile truce, ceasefire agreements, and their uncertain future. Amidst the escalating violence in Jabalia, calls for a ceasefire have intensified. International actors are engaged in mediating efforts, aiming to de-escalate the situation and provide humanitarian relief. However, previous ceasefires have proven fragile, often collapsing due to mistrust and a lack of political will. Both sides remain entrenched in their positions, with fundamental disagreements persisting over land, security, and political recognition. The Jabalia attack further complicates these negotiations, highlighting the challenges in reaching a lasting and sustainable peace agreement. Section 6. Shifting Sands of Power: The Rise of Targeted Resistance. The Jabalia operation, specifically the truck explosion, exemplifies the evolving nature of Palestinian resistance tactics. By employing precise and targeted attacks, Palestinian militant groups aim to maximize impact while minimizing civilian casualties. This approach aims to undermine Israeli morale, erode public support for the conflict, and expose vulnerabilities in Israeli military capabilities. The success of such operations, while disputed, demonstrates a shift in the balance of power, albeit limited, within the context of the asymmetric warfare characterizing the conflict. Section 7. International repercussions. A global community divided. The ongoing conflict in Gaza, including the recent events in Jabalia, has sparked international condemnation and concern. The images of destruction and the stories of those affected have resonated globally, drawing attention to the dire situation on the ground. The conflict has not only caused significant loss of life, but has also led to widespread displacement and suffering among the civilian population. The United Nations has called for restraint and a return to negotiations, emphasizing the need for a peaceful resolution. Various UN agencies have been actively involved in trying to mediate between the conflicting parties, urging them to come to the table and discuss a sustainable solution. Despite these efforts, the path to peace remains fraught with challenges. Meanwhile, humanitarian organizations struggle to provide aid to the besieged population. The blockade and ongoing hostilities make it incredibly difficult to deliver essential supplies such as food, water, and medical aid. Aid workers often risk their lives to reach those in need, highlighting the severe humanitarian crisis that continues to unfold. However, the international community remains divided on how to address the root causes of the conflict. Different countries have varying perspectives and interests, which complicates the formation of a unified strategy. Some nations advocate for immediate ceasefire and humanitarian relief, while others focus on long-term political solutions. This division, often drawn along geopolitical lines, hinders the effectiveness of international efforts to mediate a lasting peace. The geopolitical interests of powerful nations often overshadow the immediate needs of the affected populations, leading to a stalemate in diplomatic efforts. The lack of consensus among global powers further exacerbates the situation. The lack of a unified response allows the cycle of violence to continue, perpetuating a state of instability and insecurity. Protests around the world reflect the deep divisions and strong emotions that this conflict evokes. The ongoing violence not only affects those directly involved, but also has broader implications for regional and global stability. Further entrenching the conflict and deepening the humanitarian crisis, the situation in Gaza remains a poignant reminder of the urgent need for a comprehensive and inclusive approach to peace. The plight of refugees and the daily struggles of those living in conflict zones underscore the human cost of this prolonged conflict. It is imperative for the international community to find common ground and work towards a resolution that ensures lasting peace and security for all. Section 8. The Human Cost of War, a Bleak Outlook for Gaza's Future. Beyond the military and political dimensions, the conflict in Gaza inflicts a devastating toll on the civilian population. The Jabalia battle has exacerbated an already dire humanitarian situation. With infrastructure decimated, access to essential services like healthcare and clean water remains severely limited. The psychological trauma inflicted by constant violence leaves an enduring scar on the population, particularly children. The international community must prioritize the protection of civilians and ensure the delivery of humanitarian aid to alleviate the suffering in Gaza. Section 9. Finding a Path to Peace. The Urgent Need for Dialogue. In the heart of the Middle East, the ongoing conflict has left deep scars on both the land and its people. The recent events in Jabalia have once again highlighted the critical need for a renewed peace process. The violence and suffering experienced by civilians underscore the urgency of addressing this issue. A lasting solution requires not only immediate ceasefires, but also a comprehensive approach to tackle the root causes of this decades-long conflict. This means engaging in meaningful dialogue that addresses the underlying issues fueling the conflict. It involves understanding the historical grievances, the political dynamics, and the human stories that have shaped this struggle. A key component of this dialogue is ending the occupation, which has been a source of tension and violence for many years. The presence of military checkpoints and the daily reality of occupation have created an environment of fear and mistrust. Additionally, finding a just resolution to the refugee crisis is essential. Millions of Palestinians live in refugee camps, often in dire conditions, with the hope of one day returning to their ancestral homes. Their plight cannot be ignored in any peace process. Ensuring the security of both Israelis and Palestinians is another critical aspect. Both communities have the right to live without fear of violence. Joint initiatives and cooperation can pave the way for mutual trust and security. Dialogue, however challenging, remains the only viable path towards a sustainable peace. It requires patience, empathy, and a willingness to understand the other side's perspective. Peace negotiations must be inclusive, bringing together diverse voices and stakeholders. The international community has a crucial role to play. It must exert concerted pressure on all parties to return to the negotiating table. Diplomatic efforts and international support can provide the necessary framework for a lasting peace agreement. Ultimately, the goal is to work towards a future where both Israelis and Palestinians can live in peace and security, a future where children from both communities can play together and families can interact without fear. This vision of coexistence and harmony is achievable through persistent and sincere dialogue.